All right, everyone. Are you ready? Let's go ahead and get started. Hi, everybody. My name is Graka. I am the Daedra Slayer and Daedra Hunter. Oh my gosh, you can tell my brain ain't working. And we're going to take a very comfy stream approach today. I've actually got my microphone like 6 inches from my face. Usually it's like a foot or two off, so I can like scream at it. Today. We're committing to the quiet, comfy vibes. We're going to be reading a book, and it is a short, it's not quite a short story, it's more like a novelette by Isaac Asimov. Sam, thank you so much. Actually, let me take a moment and say hello to everyone who's come in. Sam, hello, welcome in. Blaze, Lecco, wonderful to see you all. We already have our first hydrate redeem. Water is life, friends, so drink up. Cheers. Yeah, I'm gonna need a lot of those. My throat's getting just almost a tiny bit sore. I'm like at the very start of a potential illness, which kind of sucks because I'm supposed to be doing a work trip next week. So hopefully I recover very quickly because, yeah, that could be awkward. That could be a little bit awkward otherwise. So please do keep those hydrate redeems. Yeah, redeems. I'm doing great on words today. See, this is exactly why I'm not using my own words today. That's why I'm doing a reading today. So I don't have to think. I can just vibe, and y'all can vibe, and it's gonna be wonderful. Yeah, I hope it's a tiny sick too. I've had headaches the last couple days. Like yesterday, it was like bordering on migraine territory. So hopefully it's gonna chill out. But if not, ooh, Lecco pondering a job offer. That's super exciting. I'm so excited for you. You have to tell me all about it when you feel like it. But to tell you a little about the author of the book that we're going to be reading today, if you're not much of a sci-fi fan, you might not have heard of him, but if you are, chances are you have definitely heard of Isaac Asimov. He is definitely one of the founding fathers, I'd say, of American sci-fi. He was, let's see, when was he alive? I know he when his childhood, it was 1923 is when he moved to America. He was originally born in Germany, and then 1923 his family moved, I believe. Gosh, this is what happens when I don't just write everything down. I studied, I swear. The Binding of Isaac Asimov? No! But I mean, incredibly brilliant person, professor of biochemistry. I was reading some of his stuff, and okay, you know, it might be slightly conceited, this particular quote, but he was talking about how when he met Carl Sagan, he's one of like 2 or 3 people he's ever met that he thinks is more intelligent than him. But he, I mean, really is one of the foundational fathers of sci-fi. And I say foundational because, of course, one of his most famous series is the Foundation series. I think I got like 5 books through that one when I was on my classic sci-fi kick a couple years ago. And of course, you know, more popular culture, if you ever saw the movie I, Robot with Will Smith, yeah, I, Robot is also one of Isaac Asimov's. So this particular story, let's see, when was it originally written? I don't know when it was originally written, actually. It doesn't say on here. But obviously it's a little bit of an older one by the fact that it's in the public domain now. Is a story called Youth. And the very short blurb that they give us at the start here is, Red and Slim found the 2 strange little animals the morning after they heard the thunder sounds. They knew they could never show their new pets to their parents. All right, let's see. Sam, the heat wave. Oh yeah, no. See, it's the heat wave, and then we had a lot of smoke this past weekend. And between those 2 things, I think it hit my sinuses. It hit my breathing apparatuses, and now I'm just screwed. I'm speaking of, hi, welcome in, Rat Goblin. Rat Goblin gave me some great advice when I was dealing with the smoke. Super appreciate it. I ended up sleeping in one of our masks. Oh, we have a dog in our front yard. I think that's Bandit. Bandit's our neighbor's dog. He doesn't usually cross the yard, though. One moment, I'm gonna let my husband know. Nah, it should be fine. I'm not too worried about Bandit. He's a sweet dog. But... one sec, just letting him know. Alright. So let's see. Lecco says, better than Lafayette or Ron Hubbard. Great Behind the Bastards podcast about him. They knew each other. Oh my. Sam, thank you. 1952. You first appeared in the May 1952 Space Science Fiction magazine. Let's see, Rat Goblin, a bandit. I had a raccoon I called Bandit one time against stealing nuts from the front yard. Now that is a true bandit. This dog is adorable. I think he's a little bit on the older side. He's a pibble, and he loves his ball, and he loves people. He loves small children. I have been informed, though, that he's not a friend to cats, which we don't have outdoor cats for a good reason. But it's something that we keep in mind. Just you know, we have indoor cats. We keep them indoors. It's very important they stay indoors. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and switch the music over to our comfy time reading music now. And I'm going to be mostly not paying attention to chat while I'm reading, but these are fairly short chapters. I'll be catching up on chat between chapters. So feel free to just sit back, relax. If you post in chat, know that I will get to it between chapters. All right, and here we go. Let's see if this music's going to be loud enough. I might boost the gain just a little bit there. One moment. Still pretty quiet. Now it's getting louder. A little bit more. Alright, I think that's probably at a good level, but let me know. Let's see, Sam. So I did take a look through it. I did not see any issues with any language or situations in this particular story. It's fairly innocuous, but if we do come across anything, of course, we will take a moment to discuss in the moment because these are important things to have contextualized. But for the most part, it's not good. This is going to be a nice light story so far as sci-fi goes. From Again, I haven't read this through fully. I did a skim, and then I did some research beyond that just to be safe. So, all right, here we go. There was a spatter of pebbles against the window, and the youngster stirred in his sleep. Another, and he was awake. He sat up stiffly in bed. Seconds passed while he interpreted his strange surroundings. He wasn't in his own home, of course. This was out in the country. It was colder than it should be, and there was green at the window. Slim! The call was a hoarse, urgent whisper, and the youngster bounded to the open window. Slim wasn't his real name, but the new friend he had met the day before had only needed one look at his slight figure to say, "You're Slim." He added, "I'm Red." Red wasn't his real name either, but its appropriateness was obvious. They were friends instantly, with the quick, unquestioning friendship of young ones not yet quite in adolescence, before even the first stains of adulthood began to make their appearance. Slim cried, "Hi, Red!" and waved cheerfully, still blinking the sleep out of himself. Red kept to his croaking whisper. "Quiet! You want to wake somebody?" Slim noticed all at once that the sun scarcely topped the low hills in the east, that the shadows were long and soft, and that the grass was wet. Slim said more softly, "What's the matter?" Red only waved for him to come out. Slim dressed quickly, gladly confining his morning wash to the momentary sprinkle of a little lukewarm water. He let the air dry the exposed portions of his body as he ran out, while bare skin grew wet against the dewy grass. Red said, "You've got to be quiet. If Mom wakes up, or Dad, or your dad, or even any of the hands, then it'll be, 'Come in, or you'll catch your death of cold.'" He mimicked voice and tone faithfully, so that Slim laughed and thought there had never been so funny a fellow as Red. Slim said eagerly, "Do you come out here every day like this, Red? Real early? It's like the whole world is just yours, isn't it, Red? No one else around and all like that." He felt proud at being allowed entrance into this private world. Red stared at him sidelong. He said carelessly, "I've been up for hours. Didn't you hear it last night?" "Hear what?" "Thunder." "Was there a thunderstorm?" Slim never slept through a thunderstorm. I guess not. But there was thunder. I heard it. And then I went to the window and it wasn't raining. It was all stars and the sky was just getting sort of almost gray. You know what I mean? Slim had never seen it, but he nodded. So I just thought I'd go out, said Red. They walked among the grassy side of the concrete road that split the panorama right down the middle, all the way down to where it vanished among the hills. It was so old that Red's father couldn't tell Red when it had been built. It didn't have a crack or a rough spot in it. Red said, "Can you keep a secret?" "Sure, Red. What kind of secret?" "Just a secret. Maybe I'll tell you, and maybe I won't. I don't know yet." Red broke a long, supple stem from a fern they passed, methodically stripped it of its leaflets, and swung what was left whip fashion. For a moment he was on a wild charger which reared and champed under his iron control. Then he got tired, tossed the whip aside, and stowed the charger away in the corner of his imagination for future use. He said, "There'll be a circus around." Slim said, "That's no secret, I knew that. My dad told me even before we came here." "That's not the secret. Fine secret. Ever see a circus?" "Oh, sure, you bet." "Like it?" "Say, there isn't anything I like better." Red was watching out of the corner of his eyes again. "Ever think you would like to be with the circus? I mean, for good?" Slim considered. "I guess not. I think I'll be an astronomer, like my dad. I think he wants me to be." "Astronomer," said Red. Slim felt the doors of the new private world closing on him, and astronomy became a thing of dead stars and black, empty space. He said placatingly, "The circus would be more fun." "You're just saying that." "No, I'm not. I mean it." Red grew argumentative. "Suppose you had a chance to join the circus right now. What would you do?" I... See?" Red affected scornful laughter. Slim was stung. "I'd join up." "Go on. Try me." Red whirled at him, strange and intense. "You meant that? You want to go in with me?" "What do you mean?" Slim stepped back a bit, surprised by the unexpected challenge. "I got something that can get us into the circus. Maybe someday we could even have a circus of our own. We could be the biggest circus fellows in the world. That's if you want to go in with me. Otherwise, well, I guess I can do it on my own. I just thought, let's give good old Slim a chance." The world was strange and glamorous. And Slim said, "Sure thing, Red, I'm in. What is it? Huh, Red? Tell me what it is." "Figure it out. What's the most important thing in circuses?" Slim thought desperately. He wanted to give the right answer. Finally, he said, "Acrobats?" "Holy smokes, I wouldn't go 5 steps to look at acrobats." "I don't know then." "Animals, that's what. What's the best sideshow? Where are the biggest crowds? Even in the main rings, the best acts are animal acts." There was no doubt in Red's voice. "Do you think so?" "Everyone thinks so. You ask anyone. Anyway, I found animals this morning. 2 of them. And you've got them." "Sure, that's the secret. Are you telling?" "Of course not." "Okay, I've got them in the barn. Do you want to see them?" They were almost at the barn, its huge open door black. Too black. They had been heading there all the time. Slim stopped in his tracks. He tried to make his words casual. "Are they big?" "Would I fool with them if they were big? They can't hurt you. They're only about so long. I've got them in a cage." They were in the barn now, and Slim saw the large cage suspended from a hook in the roof. It was covered with stiff canvas. Red said, "We used to have some bird there or something. Anyway, they can't get away from there. Come on, let's go up to the loft." They clambered up the wooden stairs, and Red hooked the cage toward them. Slim pointed and said, "There's sort of a hole in the canvas." Red frowned. "How'd that get there?" He lifted the canvas, looked in, and said with relief, "Ugh, they're still there." The canvas appeared to be burned, worried Slim. You want to look or don't you? Slim nodded, slowly. He wasn't sure he wanted to after all. They might be, but the canvas had been jerked off, and there they were, 2 of them. The way Red said, they were small and sort of disgusting looking. The animals moved quickly as the canvas lifted and were on the side toward the youngsters. Red poked a cautious finger at them. Watch out, said Slim in agony. They don't hurt you, said Red. Ever seen anything like them? No. Can't you see how a circus would jump at a chance to have these? Maybe they're too small for a circus? Red looked annoyed. He let go of the cage, which swung back and forth pendulum fashion. You're just trying to back out, aren't you? No, I'm not. It's just, they're not too small. Don't worry. Right now, I've only got one worry. What's that? Well, I've got to keep them till the circus comes, don't I? I've got to figure out what to feed them meanwhile. The cage swung, and the little trapped creatures clung to its bars, gesturing at the youngsters with queer, quick motions. Almost as though they were intelligent. And that's chapter 1, y'all. All right, let's get caught up on chat. So first off, Axel, hello, welcome in. Let's see, let go. Fun fact, the original protagonist name in Pokemon was Red. It's true, it's true. Let go fact, in DuckTales, Dewey's middle name is Grass? Nani? Oh, because Dewey Grass, I remember that part. Oh my gosh. Let go. If I'm not mistaken, the second game, yeah, you can fight Red on the mountain. I recall that, yeah. I feel like y'all might like Octavia Butler. She's got some strange but intriguing sci-fi stories. Ooh, I might need to check her out. So how many of us are envisioning a kid that looks like Ash from Pokemon the story with the voice too? Oh no. I think we ever blew Gary. He did what to the canvas? Axel, I always thought Gary was the lamest name to give Ash's rival. Like, everyone has much cooler names. Yet you're telling me Ash's biggest enemy is some dude named Gary. Hey, don't... Look, SpongeBob's snail was named Gary, and I loved Gary's. Let's be nice to our Garys. All the Garys out there, I apologize for Axel. All right, 1 second while I hydrate just a little bit more. All right, and we are moving on to chapter 2, y'all. The astronomer entered the dining room with decorum. He felt very much the guest. He said, "Where are the youngsters? My son isn't in his room." The industrialist smiled. "They've been out for hours. However, breakfast was forced into them among the women some time ago, so there is nothing to worry about. Youth, Doctor, youth." Youth. The word seemed to depress the astronomer. They ate breakfast in silence. The industrialist said once, "You really think they'll come? The day looks so normal." The astronomer said, "They'll come." That was all. Afterward, the industrialist said, "You'll pardon me, I can't conceive you're playing so elaborate a hoax. You really spoke to them?" "As I speak to you, at least in a sense. They can project thoughts." "I gathered that must be so from your letter. How, I wonder?" "I could not say. I asked them, and of course they were vague. Or perhaps it was just that I could not understand. It involves a projector for the focusing of thought, and even more than that, conscious attention on part of both projector and receptor. It was quite a while before I realized they were trying to think at me. Such thought projectors may be part of the science they will give us." "Perhaps," said the industrialist. "Yet think of the changes it would bring to society. A thought projector." "Why not? Change would be good for us." "I don't think so." "It is only in the old age that change is unwelcome," said the astronomer. "And races can be old as well as individuals." The industrialist pointed out the window. "You see that road? It was built before the wars. I don't know exactly when. It is as good now as the day it was built. We couldn't possibly duplicate it now. The race was young when that was built, eh? Then, yes, at least they weren't afraid of new things. No, I wish they had been. Where is the society of before the wars? Destroyed, Doctor. What good were youth and new things? We are better off now. The world is peaceful and jogs along. The race goes nowhere, but after all, there is nowhere to go. They proved that. The men who built the road. I will speak with your visitors, as I agreed, if they come. But I think I will only ask them to go. The race is not going nowhere, said the astronomer earnestly. It is going toward final destruction. My university has a smaller student body each year. Fewer books are written, less work is done. An old man sleeps in the sun, and his days are peaceful and unchanging, but each day finds him nearer death all the same. Well, well, said the industrialist. No, don't dismiss it. Listen. Before I wrote you, I investigated your position in the planetary economy. And you found me solvent, interrupted the industrialist, smiling. Why, yes. Oh, I see, you are joking. And yet, perhaps the joke is not far off. You are less solvent than your father, and he was less solvent than his father. Perhaps your son will no longer be solvent. It becomes too troublesome for the planet to support even the industries that still exist, though they are toothpicks to the oak trees of before the wars. We will be back to village economy, and then to what? The caves? And the infusion of fresh technological knowledge will be the changing of all that. Not just the new knowledge, rather the whole effect of change, of a broadening of horizons. Look, sir, I chose to approach in this manner not only because you were rich and influential with government officials, but because you had an unusual reputation for these days of daring to break with tradition. Our people will resist change, and you would know how to handle them, how to see it that the youth of the race is revived. Yes. With its atomic bombs. The atomic bombs, returned the astronomer, need not be the end of civilization. These visitors of mine had their atomic bomb, or whatever their equivalent was, on their own worlds, and survived it because they didn't give up. Don't you see? It wasn't the bomb that defeated us, but our own shell shock. This may be the last chance to reverse the process. Tell me, said the industrialist, what do these friends from space want in return? The astronomer hesitated. He said, I will be truthful with you. They come from a denser planet. Ours is richer in the lighter atoms. They want magnesium? Aluminum? No, sir. Carbon and hydrogen. They want coal and oil. Really? The astronomer said quickly, you are going to ask why creatures who have mastered space travel and therefore atomic power would want coal and oil. I can't answer that. The industrialist smiled. But I can. This is the best evidence yet of the truth of your story. Superficially, atomic power would seem to preclude the use of coal and oil. However, quite apart from the energy gained by their combustion, they remain, and always will remain, the basic raw material for all organic chemistry. Plastics, dyes, pharmaceuticals, solvents. Industry could not exist without them, even in an atomic age. Still, if coal and oil are the low price for what they would sell us, the troubles and tortures of racial youth. My answer is that the commodity would be dear if offered gratis. The astronomer sighed and said, There are the boys. They were visible through the open window, standing together in the grassy field and lost in animated conversation. The industrialist's son pointed imperiously, and the astronomer's son nodded and made off at a run toward the house. The industrialist said, There is the youth you speak of. Our race has as much of it as it has ever had. Yes, but we age them quickly and pour them into the mold. Slim scuttled into the room, the door banging behind him. The astronomer said in mild disapproval, "What's this?" Slim looked up in surprise and came to a halt. "I beg your pardon. I didn't know anyone was here. I'm sorry to have interrupted." His enunciation was almost painfully precise. The industrial said, "It's all right, youngster." But the astronomer said, "Even if you had been entering an empty room, son, there would be no cause for slamming a door." "Nonsense," insisted the industrialist. "The youngster has done no harm. You simply scold him for being young, you with your views." He said to Slim, "Come here, lad." Slim advanced slowly. "How do you like the country, eh?" "Very much, sir, thank you." "My son has been showing you about the place, has he?" "Yes, sir. No, call him Red. I call him that myself. Now tell me, what are you two up to, eh?" Slim looked away. "Why, just exploring, sir." The industrialist turned to the astronomer. "There you are, youthful curiosity and adventure lust. The race has not yet lost it." Slim said, "Sir?" "Yes, lad." The youngster took a long time getting on with it. He said, "Red sent me in for something good to eat, but I don't know exactly what he meant. I didn't like to say so." "Why, just ask Cook. She'll have something good for the young'uns to eat." No, sir. I mean for animals." "For animals?" "Yes, sir. What do animals eat?" The astronomer said, "I'm afraid my son is city bred." "Well," said the industrialist, "there's no harm in that. What kind of animal, lad?" "A small one, sir." "Then try grass or leaves, and if they don't want that, nuts or berries would probably do the trick." "Thank you, sir." Slim ran out again, closing the door gently behind him. The astronomer said, "Do you suppose they've trapped an animal alive?" He was obviously perturbed. "That's common enough. There's no shooting on my estate, and it's tame country, full of rodents and small creatures. Red is always coming home with pets of what sort or another. They rarely maintain his interest for long." He looked at the wall clock. "Your friends should have been here by now, shouldn't they?" And that's the end of chapter 2, y'all. Gonna take a moment, drink a little bit more. All right, and let's see what I missed. Let's see. This is partially the inspiration behind Scientology. Oh no, I didn't realize. That's actually kind of, yeah, I can see it. Actually, I can see it knowing this story, but don't spoil nothing. Axel, by the way, hi. No, I said hi to you, but still, hi again, Axel. Scientology is honestly terrifying, yes. Let's see, Lego Hubbard was an eccentric monster. Totally listen to that podcast. It sounds amazing. Also, Vulture, welcome in. Hello. Let's see, Sam. I tried reading one of the Scientology books in high school at the library. I quickly realized that anyone with as many degrees as was depicted in a photo was not human or sane. Yeah. Let's see, Axel, I watched so many things on Scientology, and the fact that these guys use sci-fi novels and use his gospel is insane, and it worked, you know? Leko, no, atomic balm. Is that for the extreme chapped lips? Are atomic bombs similar to atomic salves? Jeez. Let's see. Axel featured product, Fallout like the game. See, Sam, I feel like atomic bombs and atomic salves are missed opportunities. Oh no, Leko. Slim sounds shady. Yes, he's the real shady. All the other Slim Shadies are just imitating. Nair! Y'all! Oh my gosh. Oh yeah, Axel Leko is a pro punster. And Main Mortar, hey! Welcome in! It's good to see you. I'm learning about the roots of Scientology today, apparently. Welcome in, wonderful to have you here. Oh, I might need to grab more liquids. I did not grab enough water. 1 second. I'm gonna see if I can Big loose to get me some. Alright. Yo, Elvina, welcome in! Thank you so much for stopping by. Yo, you're live. Go take care of your stream. It's very kind of you to come by, though. I appreciate that. Alright. So, going on to chapter 3, friends. You're in the bathroom. Ooh. Bio break. I understand. Oh, man. Alright. Chapter 3. The swing had come to a halt, and it was dark. The explorer was not comfortable in the alien air. It felt as thick as soup, and he had to breathe shallowly. Even so, he reached out in sudden need for company. The merchant was warm to the touch. His breathing was rough. He moved in an occasional spasm, and was obviously asleep. The explorer hesitated and decided not to wake him. It would serve no real purpose. There would be no rescue, of course. That was the penalty paid for the high profits which unrestrained competition could lead to. The merchant who opened a new planet could have a 10-year monopoly of its trade, which he might hug to himself or, more likely, rent out to all comers at a stiff price. It followed that planets were searched for in secrecy and preferably away from the usual traders. In a case such as theirs, then, there was little or no chance that another ship would come within range of their sub-etherics, except for the most improbable of coincidences. Even if they were in their ship, that is, rather than in this cage. The explorer grasped the thick bars. Even if they blasted those away, as they could, they would be stuck too high in open air for leaping. It was too bad. They had landed twice before in the scout ship. They had established contact with the natives, who were grotesquely huge, but mild and unaggressive. It was obvious that they had once owned a flourishing technology, but hadn't faced up to the consequences of such a technology. It would have been a wonderful market. And it was a tremendous world. The merchant especially had been taken aback. He had known the figures that expressed the planet's diameter, but from a distance of 2 light seconds, he had stood at the visiplate and muttered, "Unbelievable." "Oh, they're a larger world." I need to find a different voice for the explorer. "Oh, there are larger worlds," the explorer said. It wouldn't do for an explorer to be too easily impressed. "Uninhabited? Well, no." "Why, I'm having trouble finding voices for these two. I might have to give him an accent. "Why, you could drop your planet into that large ocean and drown it." That's going to be the merchant from now on. I hope y'all like it. The explorer smiled. It was a gentle dig at his Arcturian homeland, which was smaller than most planets. He said, "Not quite." The merchant followed along the lines of his thoughts. "And the inhabitants are large in proportion to their world?" He sounded as though the news struck him less favorably. Now, y'all, I'm not good at accents. Let's just be real here. I am the worst at accents. Just roll with it. "Nearly 10 times our height." I still can't find a good accent for the explorer. "Are you sure they are friendly?" Wow, maybe I should just... Okay, I'm pretty good at getting into a country drawl, but it always sounds ridiculous. "Well, that is hard to say. Friendship between alien intelligences is an imponderable. They are not dangerous, I think. We've come across other groups that could not maintain equilibrium after the atomic war stage, and you know the results. Introversion, retreat, gradual decadence, and increasing gentleness." Yeah, okay. Okay, that's the explorer. God help us. Even if... Oh, God. I hate it when I have to break into accents. There were too many characters. God damn. Even if they are... Shush. Fuck, I can't. Ish, y'all. Even if they are such monsters? Okay, I know the voice I should go for here, because it's one I can do consistently.
Even if they are such monsters?
The principle remains. God damn, I'm so sorry, y'all. It was about then that the explorer felt the heavy throbbing of the engines. He frowned and said, "We are descending a bit too quickly." There had been some speculation on the dangers of landing some hours before. The planetary target was a huge one for an oxygen water world, though it lacked the size of the uninhabitable hydrogen ammonia planets, and its low density made its surface gravity fairly normal. Its gravitational forces fell off, but slowly with distance. In short, its gravitational potential was high, and the ship's calculator was a run-of-the-mill model not designed to plot landing trajectories at that potential range. That meant the pilot would have to use manual controls. It would have been wiser to install a more high-powered model, but that would have meant a trip to some outpost of civilization, lost time, perhaps a lost secret. The merchant demanded an immediate landing. The merchant felt it was necessary to defend his position now. He said angrily to the explorer,
"Don't you think that pilot knows his job? He landed you safely twice before."
Yes, thought the explorer, in a scout ship, not in this unmaneuverable freighter. Aloud, he said nothing. He kept his eye on the visiplate. They were descending too quickly. There was no room for doubt. Much too quickly. The merchant said peevishly,
"Why do you keep silence?"
"Well then, if you wish me to speak, I would suggest that you strap on your floater and help me prepare the ejector." The pilot fought a noble fight. He was no beginner. The atmosphere, abnormally high and thick, and the gravitational potential of this world whipped and burned about the ship. But to the very last, it looked as though he might bring it under control despite that. He even maintained course, following the extrapolated line to the point on the northern continent toward which they were headed. Under other circumstances, with a shade more luck, the story would eventually have been told and retold as a heroic and masterly reversal of a lost situation. But within sight of victory, tired body and tired nerves clamped a control bar with a shade too much pressure. The ship, which had almost leveled off, dipped down again. There was no room to retrieve the final error. There was only a mile left to fall. The pilot remained at his post to the actual landing, his only thought that of breaking the force of the crash, of maintaining the spaceworthiness of the vessel. He did not survive. With the ship bucking madly in a soupy atmosphere, few ejectors could be mobilized, and only one of them in time. When afterwards, the explorer lifted out of unconsciousness and rose to his feet, he had the definite feeling that but for himself and the merchant, there were no survivors. And perhaps that was an overcalculation. His floater had burnt out, while sufficiently distant from the surface to have the fall stun him. The merchant might have had less luck even than that. He was surrounded by a world of thick, ropey stalks of grass, and in the distance were trees that reminded him vaguely of similar structures on his native Arcturian world, except that their lowest branches were high above what he would consider normal treetops. He called, his voice sounding basso in the air, and the merchant answered. The explorer made his way toward him, thrusting violently at the coarse stalks that barred his path. "Are you hurt?" he asked. The merchant grimaced.
"I've sprained something. It hurts to walk."
The explorer probed gently. "I don't think anything is broken. You'll have to walk despite the pain."
"Can't we rest first?"
"It's important to try to find the ship. If it is spaceworthy, or if it can be repaired, we may live. Otherwise, we won't."
"Just a few minutes. Let me grab my breath."
The The explorer was glad enough for those few minutes. The merchant's eyes were already closed. He allowed his to do the same. He heard the trampling and his eyes snapped open. Never sleep on a strange planet, he told himself futilely. The merchant was awake too, and his steady screaming was a rumble of terror. The explorer called, "It's only a native of this planet. It won't harm you." But even as he spoke, the giant had swooped down. In a moment, they were in its grasp, being lifted closer to its monstrous ugliness. The merchant struggled violently and, of course, quite futilely. "Can't you talk to it?" he yelled. The explorer could only shake his head. "I can't reach it with the projector. It won't be listening." "Then blast it! Blast it down!" "We can't do that." The phrase "you fool" had almost been added. The explorer struggled to keep his self-control. They were swallowing space as the monster moved purposefully away. "Why not?" cried the merchant. "You can reach your blaster. I can see it in plain sight. Don't be afraid of falling." "It's simpler than that. If this monster is killed, you'll never trade with this planet. You'll never even leave it. You probably won't live the day out." "Why? Why?" "Because this is one of the young of the species. You should know what happens when a trader kills a native young, even accidentally. What's more, if this is the target point, then we are on the state of a powerful native. This might be one of his brood." That was how they entered their present prison. They had carefully burnt away a portion of the thick, stiff covering, and it was obvious from the height from which they were suspended that it was a killing one. Now, once again, the prison cage shuddered and lifted in an upward arc. The merchant rolled to the lower rim and was startled awake. The cover lifted and light flooded in. As was the case the time before, there were two specimens of the young. They were not very different in appearance from the adults of the species, reflected the explorer, though, of course, they were considerably smaller. A handful of reedy green stalks was stuffed between the bars. Its odor was not unpleasant, but it carried clods of soil at its ends. The merchant drew away and said huskily, "What are they doing?" The explorer said, "Trying to feed us, I should judge. At least, this seems to be the native equivalent of grass." The cover was replaced, and they were set swinging again, alone with their fodder. And that is the end of chapter 3. See, Christopher Walken. If I could consistently do a Christopher Walken voice, I would. I think at this point, the merchant, I've settled on a very poor impression of Richard Nixon from Futurama. And of course, the explorer gets my contra twang. God help us. I love y'all for putting up with it. Let's see, Axel, all this talk about the market and profit. Are we sure this isn't capitalist propaganda? I mean, honestly, you have to remember this story was written in the 1950s. So post-World War I, I think we're like, are we deep into the Red Scare at that point? I think we're deep into the Red Scare at that point. Let me double check. Red Scare years. Okay, that was the first Red Scare. Yeah, there is 1950s Red Scare. That was Senator McCarthy, etc. So I'm not surprised that capitalism is a theme here, is what I'll say. Whether it's a positive theme or not, we'll have to see. Yeah, right in the middle of the Cold War, right, Sam? Oh, more hydration. Let me see. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Technically 11 more chapters, but the last 3 are like super short. So let's see. I'm just trying to see. Yeah. And let's see. All right. Well, one more moment to get a little more liquid. Hope you're all enjoying this, by the way. Trying to make sure y'all get those nice comfy vibes going in. All right, and let's go ahead and begin chapter 4, friends. Slim started at the sound of footsteps and brightened when it turned out to be only red. He said, "No one's around. I had my eye peeled, you bet." Red said, oh god, now I have to remember Red's voice. "Look, you take this stuff and you stick it in the cage. I've got to scoot back to the house." "What is it?" Slim reached reluctantly. "Ground meat. Holy smokes, haven't you ever seen ground meat? That's what you should have got when I sent you to the house instead of coming back with that stupid grass." And Slim was hurt. How'd I know they don't eat grass? Besides, ground meat doesn't come loose like that. It comes in cellophane, and it isn't that color. "Sure, in the city. Out here we grind our own. It's always this color till it's cooked." "You mean it isn't cooked?" Slim drew away quickly. Red looked disgusted. "Do you think animals eat cooked food? Come on, take it. It won't hurt you. I tell you, there isn't much time." "Why? What's doing back at the house?" "I don't know. Dad and your father are walking around. I think maybe they're looking for me. Maybe Cook told them I took the meat. Anyway, we don't want them coming here after me." "Didn't you ask the cook before you took the stuff?" "Who? That crab? Shouldn't wonder if she only let me have a drink of water because Dad makes her. Come on, take it." Slim took the large glob of meat, though his skin crawled at the touch. He turned towards the barn, and Red sped away in the direction from which he had come. He slowed when he approached the two adults, took a few deep breaths to bring himself back to normal, and then carefully and nonchalantly sauntered past. They were walking the general direction of the barn, he noticed, but not dead on. He said, "Hi, Dad. Hello, sir." The industrialist said, "Just a moment, Red. I have a question to ask you." Red turned a carefully blank face to his father. "Yes, Dad?" "Mother tells me you were out early this morning." "Not real early, Dad. Just a little before breakfast." "She said you told her it was because you had been awakened during the night and didn't go back to sleep." Red waited before answering. Should he have told Mom that? And then he said, "Yes, sir." "What was it that awakened you?" Red saw no harm in it. He said, "I don't know, Dad. It sounded like thunder, sort of, and like a collision, sort of." "Could you tell me where it came from?" "It sounded like it was out by the hill." That was truthful and useful as well, since the direction was almost opposite that in which the barn lay. The industrialist looked at his guest. "I suppose it would do no harm to walk toward the hill." The astronomer said, "I am ready." Red watched them walk away, and when he turned, he saw Slim peering cautiously out from among the briars of a hedge. Red waved at him. "Come on." Slim stepped out and approached. "Did they say anything about the meat?" "No, I guess they don't know about that. They went down to the hill." "What for?" "Search me. They kept asking about the noise I heard. Listen, the animals eat the meat?" "Well," said Slim cautiously, "they were sort of looking at it and smelling it or something." "Okay," Red said. "I guess they'll eat it. Holy smokes, they've got to eat something. Let's walk along toward the hill and see what Dad and your father are going to do." "What about the animals?" "They'll be all right. A fellow can't spend all his time on them. Did you give them water?" "Sure, they drank that." "See, come on. We'll look at them after lunch. I tell you what, we'll bring them fruit. Anything will eat fruit." Together, they trotted up the rise, Red, as usual, in the lead. End of chapter 4. Oh god, Lucko, does that make it red meat? God, that's bad. I love you, Lucko. All right. That was a nice quick one, so let's get straight into the next one. The astronomer said, "Do you think the noise was their ship landing?" "And don't you think it could be?" "If it were, they may all be dead." Perhaps not." The industrialist frowned. "If they had landed and are still alive, where are they?" "Think about that for a while." He was still frowning. The astronomer said,
I don't understand you.
They may not be friendly.
Oh, no, I've spoken with them.
You've spoken with them. Call that reconnaissance. What would their next step be? Invasion?
But they only have one ship, sir.
You know that only because they say so. They might have a fleet.
I've told you about their size.
Their size would not matter if they have hand weapons that may well be superior to our artillery.
That is not what I meant.
I had this partly in mind from the first, the industrialist went on. It is for that reason I agreed to see them after I received your letter, not to agree to an unsettling and impossible trade, but to judge their real purposes. I did not count on their evading the meeting. He sighed. I suppose it isn't our fault. You are right in one thing at any rate. The world has been at peace too long. We are losing a healthy sense of suspicion. The astronomer's mild voice rose to an unusual pitch, and he said, I will speak. I tell you that there is no reason to suppose they can possibly be hostile. They are small, yes, but that is only important because there is a reflection of the fact that their native worlds are small. Our world has what is for them a normal gravity, but because of our much higher gravitational potential, our atmosphere is too dense to support them comfortably over sustained periods. For a similar reason, the use of the world as a base for interstellar travel, except for trade in certain items, is uneconomical. And there are important differences in chemistry of life due to the basic differences in soil. They couldn't eat our food or we theirs. Surely this can all be overcome. They can bring their own food, build domed stations of lowered air pressure, devise specially designed ships.
They can, and how glibly you can describe feats that are easy to erase in its youth. It is simply that they don't have to do any of that. There are millions of worlds suitable for them in the galaxy. They don't need this one, which isn't.
How do you know? All this is their information again.
This I was able to check independently. I am an astronomer, after all.
That is true. Let me hear what you have to say then while we walk.
Then, sir, consider that for a long time our astronomers have believed that two general classes of planetary bodies existed. First, the planets which formed at distances far enough from their stellar nucleus to become cool enough to capture hydrogen. These would be the large planets rich in hydrogen, ammonia, and methane. We have examples of these in the great outer planets. The second class would include those planets formed so near to the stellar center that the high temperature would make it impossible to capture much hydrogen. These would be the smaller planets, comparatively poorer in hydrogen and richer in oxygen. We know that type very well because we live on one. Ours is the only solar system we know in detail, however, and it has been reasonable for us to assume that these were the only two planetary classes.
I take it then that there is another.
Yes, there is a super dense class, still smaller, poorer in hydrogen than the inner planets of the solar system. The ratio of occurrence of hydrogen ammonia planets and these super dense water oxygen worlds of theirs over the entire galaxy, and remember that they have actually conducted a survey of significant sample volumes of the galaxy, which we without interstellar travel cannot do, is about 3-to-1. This leaves them 7 million super dense worlds for exploration and colonization. The industrialist looked at the blue sky and the green covered trees among which they were making their way. He said, "And worlds like ours?" The astronomer said, softly, "Ours is the first solar system they have found which contains them. Apparently, the development of our solar system was unique and did not follow the ordinary rules." The industrialist considered that. "What it amounts to is that these creatures from space are asteroid dwellers." No, the asteroids are something else again. They occur, I was told, in 1 out of 8 stellar systems, but they're completely different from what we've been discussing. And how does your being an astronomer change the fact that you are still only quoting their unsupported statements? But they did not restrict themselves to bald items of information. They presented me with a theory of stellar evolution, which I had to accept, and which is more nearly valid than anything our own astronomy has ever been able to devise, if we accept possible lost theories dating from before the wars. Mind you, their theory had a rigidly mathematical development, and it predicted just such a galaxy as they describe. So you see, they have all the worlds they wish. They are not land hungry, certainly not for our land. Reason would say so if what you say is true, but creatures may be intelligent and not reasonable. Our forefathers were presumably intelligent, yet they were certainly not reasonable. Was it reasonable to destroy almost all their tremendous civilization in atomic warfare over causes our historians can no longer accurately determine? The industrialist brooded over it. From the dropping of the first atomic bomb over those islands, I forget the ancient name, there was only one end in sight, and in plain sight. Yet events were allowed to proceed to that end. He looked up, said briskly, "Well, where are we? I wonder if we are not on a fool's errand after all." But the astronomer was a little in advance, and his voice came thickly. "No fool's errand, sir. Look there." That is the end of chapter 5. Sippy some sippy. Sippy some sippy sippy. Sippy some more sippy. I'm out of sippy in that one, but don't worry. I have a backup sippy. All right. On to chapter 6. Red and Slim had trailed their elders with the experience of youth, aided by the absorption and anxiety of their fathers. Their view of the final object of the search was somewhat obscured by the underbrush behind which they remained. Red said, "Holy smokes, look at that! It's all shiny silver or something." But it was Slim who was really excited. He caught at the other. "I know what this is. It's a spaceship. That must be why my father came here. He's one of the biggest astronomers in the world, and your father would have to call him if a spaceship landed on his estate." "What are you talking about? Dad didn't even know that thing was there. He only came here because I told him I heard the thunder from here. Besides, there isn't any such thing as a spaceship." "Sure there is. Look at it. Look at those round things. They are ports, and you can see the rocket tubes." "How do you know so much?" Slim was flushed. He said, "I read about them. My father has books about them, old books, from the before the wars." "Huh, now I know you're making it up. Books from before the wars." "My father has to have them. He teaches at the university. It's his job." His voice had written. Oh my gosh, my words. His voice had written. Why is this so hard? His voice had risen, and Red had to pull at him. "You want them to hear us?" he whispered indignantly. "Well, it is too, a spaceship." "Look here, Slim. You mean that's a ship from another world?" "It's got to be. Look at my father going round and round it. He wouldn't be so interested if it was anything else." "Other worlds? Where are there other worlds?" "Everywhere. How about the planets? They're worlds just like ours, some of them. And other stars probably have planets. There's probably zillions of planets." Red felt outweighed and outnumbered. He muttered, "You're crazy." "All right then, I'll show you." "Hey, where are you going?" "Down there. I'm going to ask my father. I suppose you'll believe if he tells you. I suppose you'll believe a professor of astronomy knows what." He had scrambled upright. Red said, "Hey, you don't want them to see us. We're not supposed to be here. Do you want them to start asking questions and find out about our animals?" "I don't care. You said I was crazy." "Snitcher! You said you wouldn't tell." "I'm not going to tell. But if they find out themselves, it's your fault for starting an argument and saying I was crazy." I take it back then, grumbled Red. Well, all right, you better. In a way, Slim was disappointed. He wanted to see the spaceship at closer quarters. Still, he could not break his vow of secrecy, even in spirit, without at least the excuse of personal insult. Red said, "It's awfully small for a spaceship." "Sure, because it's probably a scout ship." "I'll bet Dad couldn't even get into the old thing." So much Slim realized to be true. It was a weak point in his argument, and he made no answer. His interest was absorbed by the adults. Red rose to his feet, an elaborate attitude of boredom all about him. "Well, I guess we better be going. There's business to do, and I can't spend all day here looking at some old spaceship or whatever it is. We've got to take care of the animals if we're going to be circus folks. That's the first rule with circus folks. They've got to take care of the animals, and," he finished virtuously, "that's what I aim to do anyway." Slim said, "What for, Red? They've got plenty of meat. Let's watch." "There's no fun watching. Besides, Dad and your father are going away. And I guess it's about lunchtime." Red became argumentative. "Look, Slim, we can't start acting suspicious or they're going to start investigating. Holy smokes, don't you ever read any detective stories where you're trying to work a big deal without being caught? It's practically the main thing, to keep on acting just like always. Then they don't suspect anything. That's the first law." "Oh, all right." Slim rose resentfully. At the moment, the circus appeared to him a rather tawdry and shoddy substitute for the glories of astronomy, and he wondered how he had come to fall in with Red's silly scheme. Down the slope they went, Slim, as usual, in the rear. Chapter break, y'all. Get some more sippy-sips. Oh, man. It's really interesting with this story. It really does ooze the 1950s. Just like, dreaming of joining the circus, talking about detective stories. I don't know. There's something that I just love about this. It's the better part of the 1950s. There were a lot of dark parts of the 1950s, y'all. Let's not pretend otherwise. But this I don't know. It's got hope. It's got nostalgia. It's just it's feeling a warm, happy place in my soul. All right. Let's continue on with chapter 7. The industrial said, "It's the workmanship that gets me. I never saw such construction." "What good is it now?" said the astronomer bitterly. "There's nothing left. There will be no second landing. This ship detected life on our planet through accident. Other exploring parties would come no closer than necessary to establish the fact that there was no super dense worlds existing in our solar system." "Well, there's no quarreling with a crash landing." "The ship seems hardly damaged. If only some had survived, the ship might have been repaired." "If they had survived, there would be no trade in any case. They're too different, too disturbing. In any case, it's over." They entered the house, and the industrialist greeted his wife calmly. "Lunch about ready, dear?" "I'm afraid not. You see..." She looked hesitantly at the astronomer. "Is anything wrong?" asked the industrialist. "Why not tell me? I'm sure our guest won't mind a little family business." "Pray, don't pay any attention whatever to me," muttered the astronomer. He moved miserably to the other end of the living room. The woman, in low, hurried tones, "Really, dear, Cook's that upset. I've been soothing her for hours, and honestly, I don't know why Red should have done it." "Done what?" The industrialist was more amused than otherwise. It had taken the united efforts of himself and his son months to argue his wife into using the name Red rather than the perfectly ridiculous, viewed, youngster fashion name, which was his real one. She said, "He's taken most of the chopped meat." "He's eaten it?" "Well, I hope not. It was raw." Then what would he want it for?" "I haven't the slightest idea. I haven't seen him since breakfast. Meanwhile, Cook's just furious. She caught him vanishing out the kitchen door, and there was the bowl of chopped meat just about empty, and she was going to use it for lunch. Well, you know Cook. She had to change the lunch menu, and that means she won't be worth living with for a week. You just have to speak to Red Deer and make him promise not to do things in the kitchen anymore. And it wouldn't hurt to have him apologize to Cook. Oh, come. She works for us. If we don't complain about a change in the lunch menu, why should she? Because she's the one who has double work made for her, and she's talking about quitting. Good cooks aren't easy to get. Do you remember the one before her? It was a strong argument. The industrialist looked about vaguely. He said, I suppose you're right. He isn't here. I suppose when he comes in, I'll talk to him. You'd better start. Here he comes. Red walked into the house and said cheerfully, Time for lunch, I guess. He looked from one parent to the other in quick speculation at their fixed stares and said, Got to clean up first, though, and made for the other door. The industrialist said, One moment, son. Sir? Where's your little friend? Red said carelessly, He's around here somewhere. We were just sort of walking, and I looked around, and he wasn't there. This was perfectly true, and Red felt on safe ground. I told him it was lunchtime. I said, I suppose it's about lunchtime. I said, we've got to be getting back to the house. And he said, yes. And I just went on. And when I was about the creek, I looked around and... The astronomer interrupted the voluble story, looking up from a magazine he had been sightlessly rummaging through. I wouldn't worry about my youngster. He is quite self-reliant. Don't wait lunch for him. Lunch isn't ready in any case, Doctor. The industrialist turned once more to his son. And talking about that, son, the reason for it is that something happened to the ingredients. Do you have anything to say? Sir? I hate to feel that I have to explain myself more fully. Why did you take the chopped meat? The chopped meat? The chopped meat. He waited patiently. Red said, Well, I was sort of hungry, prompted his father. For raw meat? No, sir, I just sort of needed it. For what exactly? Red looked miserable and remained silent. The astronomer broke in again. If you don't mind my putting in a few words, you'll remember that just after breakfast my son came in to ask what animals ate. Oh, you're right. How stupid of me to forget. Look here, Red, did you take it for an animal pet you've got? Red recovered indignant breath. He said, You mean Red came in here and said I had an animal? He came in here and said that. He said I had an animal. No, he didn't. He simply asked what animals ate. That's all. Now, if he promised he wouldn't tell on you, he didn't. It's your own foolishness in trying to take something without permission that gave you away. That happened to be stealing. Now, have you an animal? I ask you a direct question. Yes, sir. It was a whisper so low as hardly to be heard. All right, you'll have to get rid of it. Do you understand? Red's mother intervened. Do you mean to say you're keeping a meat-eating animal, Red? It might beat you. It might beat you, Jesus. It might bite you and give you blood poison. They're only small ones, quavered Red. They hardly budge if you touch them. Hey, how many do you have? 2. Where are they? Oops, wrong voice. Where are they? The industrialist touched her arm. Don't chivvy the child any further, he said in a low voice. If he says he'll get rid of them, he will, and that's punishment enough. He dismissed the matter from his mind. Chapter break, y'all. See, Axel, I'm trying to eat keto bread, and can I say it tastes like I'm eating a giant saltine without the salt? Oh no. I mean, gosh. It's nice that they have keto bread. It's nice that there's that option out there for people that are doing keto. But I can definitely understand. Gluten-free bread, I've tried. There's some decent ones out there, but it's a challenge. Like, when you pull out the core ingredients of something that has such a clear form and texture and flavor in your mind, and you try to replace it with something else, everything that you replace, just every little change sticks out, you know? I feel it. All right, drink up, y'all. Oh, on to chapter 8. Lunch was half over when Slim dashed into the dining room. For a moment, he stood abashed. And then he said, in what was almost hysteria, "I've got to speak to Red. I've got to say something." Red looked up in fright, but the astronomer said, "I don't think, son. You're being very polite. You've kept lunch waiting." "I'm sorry, Father." "Oh, don't rate the lad," said the industrialist's wife. "He can speak to Red if he wants to, and there was no damage done to the lunch." "I've got to speak to Red alone," Slim insisted. "No, that's enough," said the astronomer with a kind of gentleness that was obviously manufactured for the benefit of strangers, and which had beneath it an easily recognized edge. "Take your seat." Slim did so, but he ate only when someone looked directly upon him. Even then, he was not very successful. Red caught his eyes. He made soundless words. "Did the animals get loose?" Slim shook his head slightly. He whispered, "No, it's..." The astronomer looked at him hard, and Slim faltered to a stop. With lunch over, Red slipped out of the room, with a microscopic motion at Slim to follow. They walked in silence to the creek. Then Red turned fiercely upon his companion. "Look here, what's the idea of telling my dad we were feeding animals?" Slim said, "I didn't. I asked what you feed animals. That's not the same as saying you were doing it. Besides, it's something else, Red." But Red had not used up his grievances. "And where did you go anyway? I thought you were coming to the house. They acted like it was my fault you weren't there." "But I'm trying to tell you about that. If you'd only shut up a second and let me talk. You don't give a fellow a chance." "Well, go on and tell me if you've got so much to say." "I'm trying to. I went back to the spaceship. The folks weren't there anymore, and I wanted to see what it was like." "It isn't a spaceship," said Red sullenly. He had nothing to lose. "It is too. I looked inside. You could look through the ports, and I looked inside, and they were dead." He looked sick. "They were dead." "Who were dead?" Slim screeched. "Animals! Like our animals! Only they aren't animals! They're people things from other planets!" For a moment, Red looked like he might have turned to stone. It didn't occur to him to disbelieve Slim at this point. Slim looked too genuinely the bearer of just such tidings. He said, finally, "Oh my." "Well, what are we going to do? Golly, will we get a whooping if they find out?" He was shivering. "We'd better turn them loose," said Red. "They'll tell on us." "They can't talk our language, not if they're from another planet." "Yes, they can, because I remember my father talking about some stuff like that to my mother when he didn't know I was in the room. He was talking about visitors who could talk with the mind. Telepathy or something. I thought he was making it up." "Well, holy smokes. Holy smokes." Red looked up. "I tell you, my dad said to get rid of them. Let's sort of bury them somewhere or throw them in the creek." "He told you to do that?" "He made me say I had animals, and then he said, get rid of them. I've got to do it, he says. Holy smokes, he's my dad." Some of the panic left Slim's heart. It was a thoroughly legalistic way out. "Well, let's do it right now then, before they find out. Oh golly, if they find out, will we be in trouble?" They broke into a run toward the barn, unspeakable visions in their minds. End of chapter. Oh, sippy sip. The Echo says, to a point, then if it was different enough, it becomes good. True. A lot of it has to do, I think, with your frame of mind. If you're expecting it to taste like that image of this is what bread should be in your mind, you're not going to enjoy it. if you can embrace it for what it is, then you can. It's very much how you feel. And it's the Axel say eating with almond butter, so it tastes pretty good. Ooh, y'all. Anything with almond butter. Yes, definitely. All right. Chapter 9, y'all. It was different, looking at them as though they were people. As animals, they had been interesting. As people, horrible. Their eyes, which were neutral little objects before, now seemed to watch them with active malevolence. "They're making noises," said Slim, in a whisper that was barely audible. "I guess they're talking or something," said Fred. Funny that those noises which they had heard before had not had significance earlier. He was making no move toward them, neither was Slim. Canvas was off, but they were just watching. The ground meat, Slim noticed, hadn't been touched. Slim said, "Aren't you going to do something?" "Aren't you? You found them. It's your turn now." "No, it isn't. You found them. It's your fault. The whole thing. I was watching." "You joined in, Slim. You know you did." "I don't care. You found them, and that's what I'll say when they come here looking for us." Red said, "All right, for you." But the thought of the consequences inspired him anyway, and he reached for the cage door. Slim said, "Wait!" Red was glad to. He said, "Now what's biting you?" "One of them's got something on him that looks like it might be iron or something." "Where?" "Right there. I saw it before, but I thought it was just a part of him, but if he's people, maybe it's a disintegrator gun." "What's that?" "I read about it in the books from before the wars. Mostly people with spaceships have disintegrator guns. They point them at you, and you get disintegrated." "They didn't point it at us until now," pointed out Red with his heart not quite in it. "I don't care. I'm not hanging out around here and getting disintegrated. I'm getting my father." "Cowardly cat! Yellow cowardy cat!" "I don't care. You can call all the names you want, but if you bother them now, you'll get disintegrated. You wait and see, and it'll be all your fault." He made for the narrow spiral stairs that led to the main floor of the barn, stopped at its head, then backed away. Red's mother was moving up, panting a little with exertion and smiling a tight smile for the benefit of Slim in his capacity as a guest. "Red, are you up here? Now, don't try to hide. I know this is where you're keeping them. Cook saw where you ran off with the meat." Red quavered. Hello, Ma." "Now show me those nasty animals. I'm going to see to it that you get rid of them right away." It was over, and despite the imminent corporal punishment, Red felt something like a load fall from him. At least the decision was out of his hands. "Right there, Ma. I didn't do anything to them, Ma. I didn't know. They just looked like the little animals, and I thought you'd let me keep them, Ma. I wouldn't have taken the meat, only they wouldn't eat the grass or leaves, and we couldn't find good nuts or berries, and Cook never lets me have anything, or I would have asked her, and I didn't know it was for lunch," and he was speaking on the sheer momentum of terror, and did not realize that his mother did not hear him, but, eyes frozen and popping at the cage, was screaming in thin, piercing tones. Chapter break. Drink some water. Also, I see that the stream dropped. I apologize for anyone who missed parts. There will be a recording. I can always upload it to YouTube later on if anyone wants to get to enjoy the full story. And this is, of course, also a public domain story, so you are free to just look it up. Youth by Isaac Asimov, and you can read along if that is how you enjoy best. We're getting into the last few, we're in like 5 more chapters, but they're fairly short chapters. Mortar, welcome in. All right, so the recap to this point. 2 children find 2 strange animals which they put into a cage because they want to run away to the circus with them. Meanwhile, their fathers are talking. Turns out one of them is an astronomer who has made contact with an advanced race. The other is an industrialist who is well respected in society. The astronomer wants to make contact with the aliens and open trade in order to help reinvigorate the race. The industrialist believes that the race may be dangerous. They go out in search of where they were supposed to meet these aliens and find that their ship has crashed. Meanwhile, the children who were trailing the fathers discover that the two animals that they found are in fact aliens. The children are afraid of getting into trouble and have been hiding the fact that they have aliens. And it has just been discovered by one of the child's mothers that they are in fact hiding aliens and not animals. That is the very, very quick recap of what's been going on. And with that, friends, let's begin chapter 10. The astronomer was saying, "A quiet burial is all we can do. There is no point in any publicity now." When they heard the screams, she had not entirely recovered by the time she reached them, running and running. It was minutes before her husband could extract sense from her. She was saying finally, "I tell you, they're in the barn. I don't know what they are. No." She barred the industrialist's quick movement in that direction. She said, "Don't you go! Send one of the hands with a shotgun. I tell you, I never saw anything like it. Little horrible beasts with I can't even describe it. To think that Red was touching them and trying to feed them. He was holding them and feeding them meat." Red began, and Slim said, "It was not." The industrialist said quickly, "Now, you boys have done enough harm today. March into the house, and not one word. I'm not interested in anything you have to say after all this is over. I'll hear you out, and as for you, Red, I'll see that you are properly punished." He turned to his wife. "Now, whatever the animals are, we'll have them killed." He added quietly, once the youngsters were out of hearing, Come, the children aren't hurt after all. They haven't done anything really terrible. They've just found a new pet." The astronomer spoke with difficulty. "Pardon me, ma'am, but can you describe these animals?" She shook her head. She was quite beyond words. "Can you just tell me if they—" "I'm sorry," said the industrialist apologetically, "but I think I had better take care of her. Will you excuse me?" "A moment, please. One moment." She said she had never seen such animals before. Surely it is not usual to find animals that are completely unique on an estate such as this. "I'm sorry, let us not discuss that now." "Except that unique animals might have landed during the night." The industrialist stepped away from his wife. "What are you implying?" "I think we had better go to the barn, sir." The industrialist stared a moment, turned, and suddenly and quite uncharacteristically began running. The astronomer followed, and the woman's wail rose unheeded behind them. Chapter 11. The industrialist stared, looked at the astronomer, turned to stare again. Those, said the astronomer. "I have no doubt we appear strange and repulsive to them." "What do they say?" "Why, that they are uncomfortable and tired, even a little sick, but that they are not seriously damaged, and that the youngsters treated them well." "Treated them well? Scooping them up, keeping them in a cage, giving them grass and raw meat to eat? Tell me how to speak to them." "It may take a little time. Think at them. Try to listen. It will come to you, but perhaps not right away." The industrialist tried. He grimaced with the effort of it, thinking over and over again. "The youngsters were ignorant of your identity." And the thought was suddenly in his mind. "We were quite aware of it, and because we knew that they meant well by us according to their own view of the matter, we did not attempt to attack them." "Attack them?" thought the industrialist, and said it aloud in his concentration. "Why, yes," came the answering thought. "We are armed." One of the revolting little creatures in the cage lifted a metal object. There was a sudden hole in the top of the cage and another in the roof of the barn, each hole rimmed with charred wood. "We hope," the creatures thought, "it will not be too difficult to make repairs." The industrialist found it impossible to organize himself to the point of directed thought. He turned to the astronomer. And with that weapon in their possession, they let themselves be handled and caged? I don't understand it. But the calm thought came. We would not harm the young of an intelligent species. Chapter 12. It was twilight. The industrialist had missed entirely the evening meal and remained unaware of the fact. He said, Do you really think the ship will fly? If they say so, said the astronomer, I'm sure it will. They'll be back, I hope, before too long. And when they do, said the industrialist energetically, I will keep my part of the agreement. What is more, I will move sky and earth to have the world accept them. I was entirely wrong, Doctor. Creatures that would refuse to harm children under such provocation as they had received are admirable. But you know, I almost hate to say this. Say what? The kids. Yours and mine. I'm almost proud of them. Imagine seizing these creatures, feeding them, or trying to, and keeping them hidden. The amazing gal of it all. Red told me it was his idea to get a job in the circus on the strength of them. Imagine! The astronomer said, Youth. Rio, hello, welcome in. We just ended that chapter. There are 2 very short chapters left in our reading today, but Rio, wonderful to see you. Thank you for coming by. Hope you can enjoy the comfy vibes. All right, chapter 13. Oh god, I have to remember. I have to remember the merchant's voice. Merchant's voice is the hardest one for me. The merchant said, Will we be taking off soon? God damn, I hate that. That did not do great. Richard Nixon is not... Okay, I'm doing like the Futurama Richard Nixon voice. God damn. I can't... So one of the things I do when I do voices is I usually try to have one line in mind that I can say that triggers me to do that voice. And for some reason, I cannot find the right phrase in my mind in order to tap into the Futurama Richard Nixon voice. Which is already a really dumb voice to be choosing. Let's be fair here. I will say one of the things that, always not my favorite part about older sci-fi, as much as I love older sci-fi, is of course the fact that almost all of the characters are going to be male, which means I have to make up a lot of male voices. All right, I'm not Kirk. Will we be taking off soon? That's not right. It's too far. It's too forward in my voice. Will you be taking off soon? For some reason, I'm doing a nasally voice. I don't know. Will we be taking off soon? Good enough. You know what? Whatever. Hey, up and nowhere, said the explorer. It was going to be a lonely trip back. All the remaining 17 of the crew were dead, and their ashes were to be left on a strange planet. Back they would go with a limping ship and the burden of the controls entirely on himself. The merchant said, It was a good business stroke, not harming the young ones. We will get very good terms. The explorer thought, business. The merchant then said, They've lined up to see us off, all of them. You don't think they're too close, are you? Do you? It would be bad to burn any of them with the rocket blast at this stage of the game. They're safe. Horrible looking things, aren't they? Pleasant enough inside. Their thoughts are perfectly friendly. You wouldn't believe it of them. That immature one. The one that first picked us up. They call him Red, provided the explorer. That's a queer name for a monster. Makes me laugh. He actually feels bad that we're leaving. Only I can't make out exactly why. The nearest I can come to it is something about a lost opportunity with some organization or another that I can't quite interpret. A circus, said the explorer briefly. What? Why, the impertinent monstrosity! Why not? What would you have done if you found him wandering on your native world? Found him sleeping on a field on Earth? Red tentacles, 6 legs, pseudopods, and all. Chapter 14. Red watched the ship leave. His red tentacles, which gave him his nickname, quivered their regret at lost opportunity to the very last, and the eyes at their tips filled with drifting yellowish crystals that they were the equivalent of earthly tears. And that, friends, is the book Youth by Isaac Asimov. Whew, more liquids for me, y'all! Did you guess? Did you guess the twist at the end? Were you expecting the little switcheroo? Who's the aliens now, huh? Oh, man. Oh, that was actually a really good read. It was, again, I hadn't read this fully before we did the stream, but what a twist, right? Right? M. Night Shyamalan style. But, you know, this is exactly the kind of read I was hoping. It's like, it's comfy sci-fi, you know? There's sci-fi that can get really dark, really deep, this and that. And then there's sci-fi that's sometimes more just about kind of like the wonder and development of the universe and imagining what kind of futures there might be. And I feel like Isaac Asimov does a really good job when it comes to looking ahead at those futures that might be and developing a world based on that. Ooh, Sam. Yes, give me news. For those who don't know, by the way, Sam is in what may be the coolest class ever, where it's basically all the coursework all has to do with role-playing the Spanish Aztec War. Sam, you said you were going to get your character information soon, weren't you? Because I need to know. Let's see. Is this the origin for the movie Planet 51? Do I know Planet 51? I don't know if I know that movie. One moment while I Google. No, I don't think I've read it. Or watched it. Is it good? Would you say it's something I should watch, Axel? I mean, it's got The Rock in it, so you really can't go wrong just from that. Oh, and Gary Oldman. Hell yes. That is already convincing. Justin Long. He looks familiar. What do I know him from? I don't think I actually know him, but his face is so familiar too. But that is the end of our story. Jeepers Creepers? Maybe. Let's see. Ooh, Sam! You are the chief of the... Okay, let's see if I can remember how to say it. Flaxcullens. So you're surrounded by Aztecs, but you've repelled them and refused to bow down to them. Yes! So your team is only 3 strong. We've decided that we want to do with the Spanish. Oh, nice. Let's see, Lecco posted a link to podcast in general over in the Discord. Yeah. By the way, for those who don't know, this is the Discord that also covers my in IRL streams. So it's more themed after my IRL stuff than my VTuber stuff, but y'all are always welcome to come by, hang out if you are so inclined. And yeah, podcast about how L. Ron Hubbard started up Scientology using sci-fi books. I'm gonna sneeze. Pardon me, y'all. That's how we keep the comfy vibes, by sneezing loudly into the microphone. Thank you, Mortar. Let's see, Axel says, they poke fun at the old 80s Alien Invaders movies from back. Oh, nice. I might need to check that out. It sounds like it could be a fun one. Nice little chill night movie, which I am feeling the chill night vibes for sure. Well, y'all, I hope you enjoyed hearing this little reading. I don't know, I enjoy doing readings. I like to believe I have a voice that can carry it off, at least, depending on what accents I try to attempt. It really does come down to what accents. Flash Kalan.
Flash Kalon. All right, let's test me next time. Next time that we stream, and see if I can say it right then. Flash Kalon. Flash Kalon. In the meantime, y'all, we're gonna Flash Kalon. Yes, got it. We're gonna go ahead and pass y'all to another streamer, and let's see who's around tonight. I'd love to see if I can find someone doing kind of more of the comfy vibes. Let's see. Actually, you know what? We're going to send it over to my buddy Scully. I can't guarantee that he's going to have comfy vibes, but he has been going through a tough time. He's been a full-time streamer for a little while, and he's hitting the point where he is having to make the call to back away from full-time streaming in order to be able to cover the bills. So I really want to support our friend here. He's also just a delightful person in general. Amazing. He's doing a Just Chatting stream right now. So let's go ahead and give our friend there a little bit of love. Looks like he's using his lady model right now, who, wow, very, very well endowed. But y'all, if you can join me and go hang out with Scully, give him a little bit of a boost, and make sure that he knows that he is well loved, that would be absolutely fantastic. So one more time, thank you all for joining me. I am Graka, the Daedra Hunter. This has been Comfy Stream Day. Hopefully, there probably won't be too many streams next week, so I'll be on a business trip. But we'll see if we can manage to squeeze one in probably over the weekend for sure. And of course, on Sunday we'll be doing our IRL stream. Probably more Subnautica then. So yeah, I think that covers it. No, unfortunately, Leko. Unfortunately not. Love y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight. And we will catch y'all next time. Bye for now.
The game.